Hello everyone, inside this quad is the Eachine TurtleBee F3, a new flight controller, even though it's still got an F3 in it. This particular one, there's kind of a lot of talking to it, so I'm going to talk during the flight video, but of course on screen we've got a couple of pictures. The board itself has a lot of features that you might be looking for. It's got OSD, it's got a current sensor, it's got RSSI, it's got a built-in receiver, and all those things are fine and well. But let's get into the flight footage and we can talk about it a bit more. And when I compare it to the Beta FPV board, I'm talking about this unit here on the right. This unit on the right does come in lighter, a gram and a half lighter than this unit. It's probably due to the mount that I had to use in here. Inside, the camera for this is the new Beta FPV 1200 TV line camera. That was one that was a pre-release video that I did a few videos ago. So we get to see some motion. It's not fast motion because I'm unable to fly this vehicle very fast like I did the Beta FPV. So when we take a look at the flight footage, you might have to go back and recall the Beta FPV review that I did for that board, the F4, the new one, on the Beta FPV website. So I don't have an abundance amount of time to talk because it really only lasts about 3 minutes on the flight. I am flying with a 450 milliamp 1S battery, of course. That is the G&B. I also use the LDRC, the Happy Model Snapper battery. I just used basically all those 450 milliamp batteries that I had around because I thought that would be a better match. I am also flying in Acro Mode. Some people call that rate mode, and a few years ago there was a debate on whether what was right. Basically that means that there's no self-leveling by the gyro, and I do this for a couple reasons. One is it's now native to me. It's difficult for me to make a flight video where I'm not flying in Acro Mode. It actually looks worse now with me as the pilot flying in any sort of self-stabilization. It just doesn't work for me anymore. My fingers, brains, and eyes don't do that very well. Here early in the flight, it flies pretty well. The problem is that it just doesn't fly great. And that's kind of the genesis of this video. Is I don't think this board is as good as the Beta FPV board. Of course, the Beta FPV board is an F4 board. They have an F3, but why would you buy an F3 anymore? I also think that the new and improved FETs that they use for power delivery to the motors in the Beta FPV board is better. So the short of this is, while the Eachine TurtleBee F3 is a reasonable board, at this time I don't think it's a board that I would recommend anyone buying. If you've got one and you're desperate to fly some because your primary board is down for some reason, yeah, it'll work and it flies just fine. I just think the flight experience is so much better with the Beta FPV F4 board than it is with this particular board. The one redeeming feature, I guess, that this comes with is it does support the D-Shot protocol, and it does also have the crash over after flip. And we get a moment to see that here after we get about, I think it's about 2 minutes and 20 seconds into the flight. I bump into something, then I try to flip over. With this particular setup and this Beta 75 frame that I use, it doesn't generate enough force to flip it over. And I tried a number of times, but it is, as far as the crash mode or the flip over after crash mode, it is working properly. It's spinning the motors in the other direction. It's just not generating enough thrust to flip it all the way over. And that could be partly due to the frame. That could also be partly due to the weight. This one again does come in at almost 33 grams the way I have it built. And one of the things I did to test is I actually swapped the motors from that Beta FPV board. Even though I bought both kits off of eBay, I bought them from the same seller, I thought there was a chance that maybe the motors were substandard for some reason. So I swapped motors and it flew the same. The other thing I did was I moved the components from one board to the other board. You know, the frames are both the same, just to test further, and I found that the board it doesn't deliver enough thrust. And you can also, hopefully you're noticing with those throttle values in the top left hand corner, you can see how high up on the throttle we are. We've already had one crash. We'll take a look at another crash, and I try to flip it over and it just doesn't work, and I have to go do the walk of shame and go pick it up. After we pick it up, pretty much just trying to finish out the battery on the flight. And as you can see, when I take off, I go right to the ground because I didn't give it enough throttle at 70% throttle. So one, the battery is getting low, but two, the power delivery just isn't very good. It's not terrible. I don't want to make it sound like this board is bad. It's just not as good. I think if this board had come out 15 months ago, we'd have probably thought it was pretty good, but not anymore. So if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise about this board, please let me know down in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer all your questions. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.